You ready to talk about the central bank digital currencies? Yeah, let's talk about that.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show.
Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on the Brian Nichols Show, and thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you live from our BNC studios here in lovely Eastern Indiana. Don't let outdated business prospecting means put your company at risk. Guys, we are approaching a recession, so if you want to learn how to increase your sales and refine your messaging, learn more at brian@briannicholsconsulting.com. Folks, I am so excited to have today's guest returning to the show, the one, the only Clay Clark. Welcome back to the Brian Nichols Show.
Hey, thank you for carving out time here for allowing me to be here with you today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Clay. No, truly, thank you for finding some time because you're so busy, Clay. You have, I think, like 30 episodes a week coming out on your podcast, plus you're doing trainings, plus you have a business you're running. You're doing so much, and yet you're coming here today to help speak truth and raise awareness, right, about the threat of the CBDC, the central banking digital currencies. But Clay, before we get there, do us a favor. Reintroduce yourself here to the Brian Nichols Show audience, please.
Yeah, my name's Clay Clark. I'm the father of 5 kids. I happen to own many successful companies, and I didn't ever think I would be talking about subjects that I talk about now on my show all the time. But basically, when I discovered that the Great Reset or the lockdowns were going to happen, I happened to know that the models that said that 2.2 million people would die from COVID were false. I knew that the polymerase chain reaction tests were falsely calibrated to inflate the cases. I knew that COVID was 100% treatable with budesonide, ivermectin, and hydroxychloroquine. I knew, this is wild, that the system and method for testing for COVID-19 was patented in 2015, that the system and method for testing for COVID-19 was patented in 2015.
Womp, womp.
And I knew that America needed to know the truth. And so I committed. I talked to other business guys, and we committed. I committed first and asked other business leaders to follow. And I said, hey, if they do impose a lockdown in Tulsa, Oklahoma, will you sue the mayor with me? And if they do a lockdown, I'm going to sue the mayor of Tulsa, and I'm going to turn my building into a church. And so sure enough, when the lockdowns happened, I sued the mayor of Tulsa, and I turned my building into a church. When the church is locked down, I started flying in other pastors. And so now behind me, at our office, every Thursday night, the Remnant Church streams into the homes of about 22 to 23,000 people every single Thursday. You can watch it for free at rumble.com. The Remnant Church, it was, last week, I think we streamed to 26,000 was a new record for that. So it streams to people all over the world. Then we have the Reawaken America tour events that General Flynn and I do every few months. And then I've never stopped doing our in-person workshops to where I teach people how to grow businesses. And I've been doing that since 2005. And so all those things continue to happen. And I still run my companies today. But really, I'm trying to expose the Great Reset and the whole agenda they have planned for us, because it's really hard to have a successful company in a communist country.
A little bit of a difficulty there, to say the least.
Right.
Let's not get there, Clay. And I know we're fighting the good fight, right? We're trying to at least slow down the decay of America. And I'd say there's a lot of areas we're fighting back, and we're actually making some headway. But it starts with getting people aware of what's happening. So CBDC, it sounds like a 1980s rock band. What is this stuff, and why should we be so concerned?
Well, if you're listening right now, I'd encourage you to Google search the following 5 things. 1, do a Google search for central bank digital currencies. Just do a search for CBDCs and then MIT. So type in CBDC, MIT. That's the phrase. MIT, CBDCs. Hit enter. Your mind will be blown. 2, do a search for MIT quantum dot. What? The MIT quantum dot. What? I don't know what you're saying. MIT quantum dot. The quantum dot is a technology that allows humans to store their vaccine records or their financial records under their skin. What? 3rd, do a Google search for do a Google search for this, folks. Do a search for the quantum CBDC. Do a search for quantum CBDC. The name of the new central bank digital currency technology they're running out is called Quant. Just do a search for Quant CBDCs. I'm going to do it right now, folks. Here we go. Type it in. Quant CBDCs. Hit enter. Boom. There it is. Quant.network. That's the name of the technology. 4th thing to Google search. Google search Jeffrey Epstein and MIT. Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Gates, and MIT. What? Do a Google search for Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Gates, and MIT. Did you know that Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates, the world's most prolific pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, who thought so highly of Satan, he erected a temple on his island to pray to Satan. That Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates, the one who thinks so highly of Marina Abramovich, the spirit cooker, that he decided to feature her during the Microsoft Easter commercials. That Bill Gates and that Jeffrey Epstein teamed up to fund MIT. I don't like this part. No. And the final thing I want you to do is go to rumble.com and search for CBDCs. And I don't exaggerate, but I think we just surpassed 200 videos that are 2 minutes and 20 seconds or less out on rumble.com if you type in the word CBDC. But listen to this one here. This is the chairman of the Federal Reserve discussing central bank digital currencies. Here we go.
We think that there are four characteristics of if we were to pursue a CBDC, it would at a minimum have the following four characteristics. First is intermediated. Second is privacy protected. The third is identity verified. So it would not be anonymous. It would not be an anonymous bearer instrument. And fourth is transferable or interoperable.
The BIS General Manager, Augustine Carstens,
now, this right here is Catherine Austin Fitts, a famous investment banker, introducing a guy by the name of Augustine Carstens. This is the head of the Bank of International Settlements. Listen to what don't get lost here, folks, on the way he talks. Listen to the words he says. This is Augustine Carstens.
2020, explaining that with CBDC, they will have central control to set the rules and enforce them centrally.
Our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that.
This is Yuval Noah Harari, the top advisor for Klaus Schwab. Yuval Noah Harari. Listen to what he says, folks. This will blow your mind.
COVID makes it accelerates the process of digitalization and automatization. It legitimizes the deployment of mass surveillance, and it makes surveillance go under your skin.
This is Richard Warner, the top professor on central bank digital currencies.
Nature of this CBDC, what is it actually going to look like? They never talk about that. Right. But I heard one European central banker tell me what it's going to look like. And it was around this large and would be implanted under your skin.
If I woke up tomorrow with my head sewn to the carpet, I wouldn't be more surprised than I am right now.
You hear what is going on here? I mean, we are in a spot right now where this technology is disturbing, it's frightening, and it's happening right now. It's not theoretically happening. It's not going to happen maybe 20 years in the future. It's not in some distant dystopian culture. This is going to happen unless we stop it. And I'm telling you, folks, this technology is all part of the BRICS new central bank digital currency system. What BRICS is a group of countries that consists of Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They've all teamed up with the help of Saudi Arabia now and Venezuela and Iran and 75% of the Earth's population. And they are working to introduce a new gold-backed central bank digital currency, a new gold-backed central bank digital currency based in Shanghai. The head of the BRICS Bank is based in Shanghai. It's called the New Development Bank, and this is all linked to what's called a social credit score. Now, thus, you can't buy or sell unless you adhere to the narrative, including vaccine mandates, quarantines, curfews, lockdowns, what you can say, where you can go, your carbon footprint, all of that connects together. And by the way, the name of the new technology that the new vaccine passports is called the quantum stamp. So the name of the new currency is called the Quant, CBDCs. The name of the technology that stores your vaccine and medical records, your financial records and medical records under your skin is called the quantum dot. And the name of the new supercomputer that powers CERN is called the Google Quantum Computer. You know, CERN, the company with the 666 logo. This just in, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Let's start from the top. Who's doing this? Where is this all coming from? Why is this happening now?
Well, in 1971, this guy, Klaus Schwab, per the recommendation of Henry Kissinger, he started the World Economic Forum. This is Klaus Schwab. And per the recommendation of Henry Kissinger, he started the World Economic Forum in 1971. In 1971, America got off the gold standard per the recommendation of Henry Kissinger. And in 1971, America began sacrificing babies to Baal, a.k.a. abortion. In 1971, the Pope began the completion of the Pope completed the audience hall that is in the shape of a snake head. What? Look that up, folks. In 1971, John Lennon wrote the song called Imagine that prophesied the Great Reset. In 1971, the book Rules for Radicals was written. In 1971, the book Rules for Radicals was written and dedicated to Lucifer. And in 1971, this is all real stuff. In 1971, America moved off that gold standard per the recommendation of Henry Kissinger, while Henry Kissinger began connecting America to China. So America began outsourcing its manufacturing to China. This was all part of a plan called the Great Reset or the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and that plan is happening right now.
Well, Clay, I don't know what better article ad you could have possibly given me for my What Happened in 1971 shirt you can buy over at briannicholsshow.com. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. But I think now you guys all know. So where does this take us? I mean, this sounds like, well, we're what, almost 50 years at this point? No, we are over 50 years at this point into this plan. Dare we call it a great reset? Where do we head now? What's next?
Well, I don't know exactly that part. It's a great question. I feel like my job on the Reawaken America Tour is to share the truth about election fraud, medical fraud, religious fraud, monetary fraud, mainstream media fraud, and get people back to God. So we're going to go to Miami, Florida in May. If you're out there listening today and you want to learn more about it, you can go to timetofreeamerica.com. You can get your tickets there, and you're going to see General Flynn, Kash Patel, Eric Trump, Michael Lindell, Dr. Tenpenny, Dr. Mikovits, Dr. Stella Emanuel. You're going to see so many great patriots all gathered together at the same place, 70-plus speakers all gathered to share the truth about the Great Reset versus the Great Reawakening. And then Las Vegas, Nevada will be in August. And for our events, you can name your price so you can get those tickets at timetofreeamerica.com. So I would encourage everybody, share this show with your friends and family. Wake up, family and friends, because most people just do not know what's going on. And to find all the information I sorted or cited on today's show, you can find that at timetofreeamerica.com, timetofreeamerica.com. Also, if you want to download the book, The Great Reawakening versus The Great Reset, you can find that at timetofreeamerica.com. The documentary, you can watch that for free tonight at timetofreeamerica.com, The Great Reawakening versus The Great Reset. You can find jobs that don't require the COVID-19 shots and COVID-19 vaccine religious exemptions. All of that is found at timetofreeamerica.com. So we've tried to build quite a robust resource for you.
Clay, we're heading towards the tail end of the episode here, and I think it's important for folks to leave this episode with at least some sense of optimism, right? I call it taking the proverbial white pill, whatever you want to call it. Let's point people towards something you see that's positive here on the horizon.
Well, people that come to our in-person workshops, Brian, we're still helping people grow their companies. I'm seeing people grow their companies, but I'm also seeing people waking up. I'm a business owner. I'm a business guy. That's how I would describe myself. And I'm running into more and more business owners, Brian, that would have never talked about these subjects 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 months ago, 5 weeks ago. Yep. And they're all saying, wow, the Great Reset is really happening. What can I do? So I think a lot of patriots are waking up. I hope we can do it in time, but I can say, I talked to two different groups of people. The group of people that come to the Reawaken America Tour, they're waking up, they're getting it. But when I talk to the business people, they're all one by one waking up to the nefariousness of the Great Reset. And I perceive that as a good thing.
Yes. Well, and really quick, and I know we're going to be going towards the end of the episode here, but I just want to quickly touch on that because I've been seeing this more and more as I've been talking to more small business owners. That's the conversation. They see the pain firsthand. And I don't think that gets told enough. We need to tell their stories and frankly give them platforms to tell their stories. That's why we've been having so many business owners here on the show, is because I want them to be able to tell what they've been experiencing. So thank you for raising that up, Clay. I do think there's a great opportunity there. Business owners, entrepreneurs, sales professionals, we can build something different, but we got to get involved. We have to, as you mentioned, Clay, reawaken America.
Now, Brian, if the Great Reset does happen and they do have a supply chain collapse, the good news is everyone will get skinny real fast because we'll have a worldwide starvation. And that's probably a good thing, Brian. Everyone will get a little skinnier, So it's a worldwide weight loss program headed soon to you if we don't stop. It's called the Great Reset. But if it does happen, just know their plan is for global disruption of supply chains. So you may get thin real quick.
Clay, we unfortunately are getting hard pressed for time here, so let's do this as we're going towards the end of the episode. I want to, before we go to our final thoughts, just really quickly talk about the other things you're doing in the world of business. You're supporting business owners, entrepreneurs, giving them the resources they need. I love your podcast. You've been talking, number one, a lot of different episodes airing all week. You have, I think, multiple episodes coming out per day. You're sitting down with business owners, talking about what you're doing for them. So really quick, just kind of give us a quick snapshot. What are you doing for business owners? What's being successful? And where can folks in the Brian Nichols Show audience learn more?
Well, Brian, I've been consulting businesses since 2005. I grew up very poor, and at a certain point, I became not poor. And that happened when I was about 22 years old. I built a company called DJconnection.com, which went on to become one of the largest entertainment companies in America. And so people began to reach out to me at scale saying, hey, could you help me grow my company? And one by one, I said yes and yes. And now today, Brian, since 2005, I've been working with 160 clients to help them scale their companies. And I put out daily business podcasts. I've always put out a show per day, average for the past almost 8-9 years now. But with the Great Reset happening, I'm running into so many more entrepreneurs that have wanted to hop on our shows, the likes of John Maxwell or Wolfgang Puck. And then your average success story down the street, maybe a guy you haven't heard of, but he's worth millions of dollars because he's built a successful company. So we just try to teach people how to start and grow successful companies. I specifically focus on teaching you the truth about how to start and grow a successful company. And now I find myself sharing the truth about the Great Reset. But again, folks, if you've been trying to lose that weight, you may have a way to do it if we have the Great Reset forced upon us. And if you don't want to lose that weight, you say, I want to choose my weight. Then you'd want to stop the Great Reset. Okay, I appreciate it. We can't wait for the Great Reset to happen. We have to go stop it, folks. We can't wait for it to happen. But if we don't stop it, we're all going to lose some weight.
Yeah, better than any magic pill that you could find on late night television. Clay Clark, thank you for joining us. Before we go to the end of the episode, we do what we call final thoughts, and I will kick things off. And that is, yes, we need to build bridges. Entrepreneurs, sales professionals, whoever you may be out there, please, if you want to see things get better, it requires you to actually get involved. So I ask you to be the change you wish to see in the world. Build connections with folks who are already trying to make a difference. Help us with the resources that you have. Bring them to the table so we can make some real substantive changes here in the world. Clay Clark, what do you have for us on your end for your final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts would be, if you're going to start a successful company, step 1, find a problem that people have. Step 2, solve the problem. Step 3, try to sell it at a profit. And step 4, nail it and scale it. If you want to know how to do that, we do business workshops every 2 months at our office and conference center here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And you can learn more about those at thrivetimeshow.com. And for my business conferences, as well as for the Reawaken America Tour, I know what it's like to grow up poor, so you can always name your price. So if you're listening out there today, everybody listening today, you can afford to come out to one of our events. You just name your price, request those tickets at thrivetimeshow.com. That's thrivetimeshow.com. Or for the Reawaken America Tour, you can get those tickets at time2freeamerica.com.
Alrighty, folks, we'll include all those links in the show notes, so it's easy for you to go ahead and find. You're joining us here in the podcast version of the show, which I know 99% of you are. Click the artwork in your podcast catcher. It'll bring you over to briannicholsshow.com, where you can find today's episode. You can find the entire transcript from today's episode, plus all the aforementioned links. And by the way, we have another episode, if you're joining us here on YouTube, that we're going to go ahead and continue with Clay, and that is, how is Executive Order 14067 actually communism in its purest form? Want to hear the answer? Go ahead, hit this link right here. It popped up here on the screen. We'll see you over there. Otherwise, with that being said, it's Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show for Clay Clark. We'll see you later.
Take care, Brian.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.